How are you? My name is Michelle. I'm your VCS for Living Environment. So today we're going to be looking at the last two missions as part of the Nova Evolution Lab. Remember, if you watched the previous video or you've done the previous lesson, there are 6 missions and you cannot move forward until you've completed the one before. So you can't move on to mission 2 until you finish mission 1. Because of that, we recommended that you have your students create a login so they can save their progress. If that did not happen or you're starting today, it's important that you have your students create a login because they will not be able to save their work. And the missions do take a bit of time, so if they have to start over to get to missions 5 and 6, it's going to take a long time. It's going to definitely be more than one period, so that's why we split it up into 2 days on purpose. So remember, when you click the Nova Evolution Lab, it'll bring you to this screen. Where it says log out, it will say log in, and you'll have the students choose what platform they wish to create an account from or what screen name or username they are going to sign in with. So it'll ask you to use your Gmail account, and they'd have to pick the corresponding Gmail. So that's the first most important thing. Either make sure that your students set up a login or log in to their work. So as these missions go on, I can tell you they definitely get trickier, and there's definitely different strategies in order to get them complete. So I'll show you kind of some examples of how we do this. So remember, there is the videos before. Now this one we're looking at the DNA. Now in order to look at the DNA, you're going to click the DNA icon at the bottom. Now this chart for me is a little small, so what I like to do is I like to zoom in on it. So the 1 represents the first letter, 2nd, 3rd, 4th. This is 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th. So as we're looking at it, these are the options that we have. So C is in the 7th position, T is in 2, T is in 4, T is in 8. Now remember, you'd have these organisms on the bottom and you click them into the middle in order to create the tree. Now one method is just to simply throw them all up on top and just see kind of where they lie. Now, you'll notice that remember, each bubble that gets filled in is a characteristic that's found on the left-hand side. So you'll notice this one only has 1, this one has 2, this one has 4, this one has 3, this one has 4. So a very good chance. First method is kind of just matching them up first. If they're going to have 4, they're probably going to look something like this, where the 4s are together, the 3, 2, and then 1 is completely by itself with the common characteristic at the bottom. So we have to figure out the common characteristic first. So that's something that all of them have in common. So we have position 2, 4, 8, and 7. So if we look at position 2, I like to just go down the board. 2. We have 1 with an A, so that's definitely not the common characteristic because there's a difference. 4 is all T's, so that one has to be your common characteristic. We click and drag to drop it in at the bottom. Okay. Now we have to figure out something that the rest of these have in common, because if you put a common characteristic here, it'll go to everybody. So now, if we look at the 2nd position, they all have something in common except this one, which is fine because it's on the end. And that is T position 2. So that has to be here. And now you'll notice they'll go up. Okay. Now we have 2 options left. We have a C position 7 and a T position 8. So 7 is here. Again, there's a little hard to read. So we have G, H, and S. Minsoni. G, H, S. Minsoni, all 7th position C. So this one has to be included for everybody here. You'll notice they'll go up. Now you notice when they're complete, they're full. So if we were to make a mistake and put this in the wrong spot. Let's just say what you'll notice is that it'll pop off. And you'll see it kind of fly down because that one doesn't count. So now this one, has to be included in these two organisms. So we will drop it here. Now you notice everyone is complete. Okay, now this one's a little bit trickier because you're including both characteristics and DNA information. Now, what I did is I tried to look for common characteristics when you use the magnifying glass. So you'll see some of the common characteristics up here. You'll notice that this one does not have any common characteristics as far as the traits go, but there may be something genetic that's the same. We have to look into that. And then this is where it gets tricky. So when you start splitting them off, there's only so much room for certain traits. So it's important that there's enough opportunity for each trait to kind of fit. So when you click, you'll notice that there's only so many places you can put things. You can only put one trait at a time. So you may have to kind of move them around in order for this to work. So let's look at the genetics first. Okay, so the first one that kind of pops out to me is that these are all T's. And that would be in the 8th, because it's 10, we go back 9, 8. So this has to be a common characteristic for everybody. Okay. And then you'll notice these are the only two that are missing something. So this position C has to go here. So this one's way less guess and check. And what you would do is you'd really make sure that it's important that you look up everything first. So we know, okay, this one only has one trait. This one has 2 traits. This one only has 1 trait. So these 2 snakes have to go together. So this one's definitely less of a guess and check and more of kind of like a puzzle that you're putting together at the same time. So as you get to mission 6, there's going to be very similar concepts. You're either looking at the DNA or DNA and traits. So use your favorite strategy, whether it's more of a guess and check or it's looking up the common characteristics and then creating the tree from there in order to complete mission 6.